What's going on, moms and dads? You are listening to the latest episode of the Fade You podcast. Today is Wednesday, May 31st. May has come and gone. June is upon us, and with June comes exciting things. Chris Duke, how you doing, Dad?
Really good. Really good. Ready to get this dog days of summer going, man.
It's going to be a fun time. But first of all, the Fade You podcast is the sports betting show for the everyday bettor. Whether you're a total degen, betting first quarter, first half game, like some people we know, or you're just looking for a little action, we're glad you're here checking out our little show. Whether you're new or have been with us for a while and are participating in our June contest, we love you, we appreciate you, and we're glad you're here hanging out with us. So Matthew James here with Chris Duke, just the two of us today. It's kind of our off season. The dads are busy. Joe's up in the Bay Area. Kmart's being an actual dad. And Neil, who knows?
Neil, we miss you. Communicate with us. Say something.
Just anything.
Light a flare.
Anything. Yeah, light a flare. Let us know you're not dead. Anyways, that's a story for another day. So, all right, short pod today. We're going to go through the rules for MLB 3 Strikes Survivor, which begins tomorrow on June 1st. Last check, we had exactly 30 signed up. So that's going to be a nice little chunk for the dogs. And we'll get things rolling tomorrow. We'll see how long this lasts. So for those listening back to this after today, then apologies, but it is too late to sign up. We kind of pushed it the final week of May through Memorial Day weekend and took our last signups on May 31st, which as of recording is today. It was a $30 entry. We're donating all of the entry money to the Service Dog Connection. They're a group that a breeder that I got my golden retriever from told me about. They're up off the California coast, Central California, and they help train service dogs, and they partner with organizations to match service dogs with families and individuals who need them. So we're all about the dogs here at Fade You. A bunch of us are dog lovers. I've got 2 dogs. Joe's got 2 dogs. Chris, my dog Summer, might as well be your adopted dog. And so we love the dogs here at Fade You. So we're going to donate all that money to those guys, and hopefully that helps them out a little bit. And hopefully, Chris, this is the first of several opportunities where we can do this, find different groups, different organizations, and use our little sports betting community here to actually do something good out there in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a good idea. And it's good for a sport like baseball where you've got so many games every day. You know, you don't have to wait once a week like football. So, and like you said, it's kind of a lull with the NBA and NHL wrapping up, and all we'll have is baseball for a couple months. So good shit.
Well, yeah, Dad, this week is kind of a good kind of indicator of what that's going to look like, right? The NBA is not starting until tomorrow. So we've had a few days off. NHL is not starting until Saturday. So, man, when both these final series wrap up, it really is just going to be baseball day in and day out, unless you're into some niche stuff. But and then it's a long summer until training camp starts, and before you know it, the NFL's back, and then we're hitting the ground running in the fall. So the way our contest is going to work is it's quite simple. You're picking one team to win every day. You cannot use the same team more than once. So whoever you use tomorrow on June 1st, you may not use them again. So you thinking about getting the A's out of the way tomorrow, Chris? I mean, they're on a 2-game. Did they win today?
No, they lost today.
Okay, yeah. So they were on a nice little 2-game winning streak, and now they're reverting back to what we all know they are. So whoever you pick tomorrow, you cannot pick again for the rest of the month. And if you lose, that is strike 1. And then when you lose your second, that is strike 2. And then on your third strike, you are out. So, Chris, let me ask you this. You know it's tough to pick winners in Major League Baseball. We just saw the Braves as minus 300 favorites go down 2 days in a row. How long do you think this will actually go? How big a streak picking a different team every day is it even possible to string together?
Well, you have to, you get 2 freebies. So, I mean, but there's a lot of good teams right now. So, I mean, a lot of folks are going to get a lot to choose. So they're going to have the Rangers and the Rays and the Yankees and the Astros and the Dodgers and the Braves and so at least you could make an argument for at least 6 to 8 teams that people can go at least use, and mix up, and then add in those 2 freebies, and then probably throw in a couple of teams that are just going to be like more like pick'ems instead of big favorites. But I mean, with the freebies, what do you think, Matt? I mean, I'd like to hope to think that it could go over like 11 or 12. Someone could get halfway through this thing. The month of June.
I've been telling people, if somebody survives half the month, 30 days in June, I think that would be pretty impressive. That means you've picked a different team every day for 2 weeks and you haven't lost more than 2. That would be pretty damn impressive, I think.
Yeah.
If someone makes it to Father's Day, what do you want to do, Chris? If somebody is still alive on Father's Day, which is June 18th, you want to do a double shot?
Wow.
You want to?
That's going to be
what do you want to do?
Sunday on the U.S. Open Sunday.
That's right.
Wow.
We'll do a Yug or something.
Yeah,
if somebody's
do a shot, do a nice shot and an IPA, a nice heavy 7%, so that way it makes you feel something.
Oh yeah, that would be impressive as hell. Because once you get into that second week, because like you said, there's some teams you can trust most days, but that list is not that long.
Right.
And then, like you said, you're going to be picking coin flips. And so those who make it to the second week, that's when it's going to really get tough. The division leaders are all picked, right? Now you're picking all these teams that are, kicking around 500, and that's going to be tricky. So we'll see what happens. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to keep track of. For those who are participating and listening, if you listen to this very soon, you can just DM your pick to Fade You each day. And for our deadline, we had a tough call for the deadline. So because games start at different times every day, we couldn't really do like a 8 a.m. deadline, 9 a.m. deadline. Basically, what we said would be the easiest would be whatever game you want to pick. You just have to have that pick submitted by first pitch. So this Red Sox game that's in the bottom of the second inning right now probably started around 4:10 Pacific time. As long as if you're in at 4:09 and that first pitch hasn't gone yet, you're good. So it's kind of up to you to know, look at the slate, know when teams are playing, know when first pitch is going to be, and just make sure you get that pick submitted. We're not going to be able to just hunt down people for a pick all day. So people are going to have to remember. I know some of our friends want reminders. That's fine. We can do that. And so what we will do is, I don't know, do you think as the picks come in, should we make those public? I don't know how much you're worried about people stealing your pick in something like this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you said you could do it a little later. I mean, if you get time, let's say around 4 or 5 p.m. Pacific, that way like you can kind of just show it, so it's not really like you can know what they're on, but at least like once the games are going.
Yeah.
And it's hard for you when like days like today when you got 9, 10 a.m. games, you're at work and shit.
Yeah, it's going to be tough on the getaway days, right? Like your Thursdays, your Mondays, Saturday when you got games all throughout the day. But I think we can, especially once the later games get going, we can make most of the picks visible so people can see what other people are on. And maybe once we get down to the last few people, we can make it sort of blind until we get all the picks in, something like that. So even though we're donating all the entry money, we are going to, and Chris, you're going to help out with this. We're going to get some free bets for people. The winner will get, we said $200. So we're going to put that together. We'll finance that ourselves. 100 for second place and then 50 for third place. So yes, it's for fun and it's mostly for donation, but we are gonna let people have some wagers. And the only thing we attach to that, it must be placed on an underdog. You can wait till football season if you want. You can wait till basketball season. You can just fire a MLB dog on July 1st if you want to. But free plays to use on an underdog, any game, any sport. Sound good?
Yeah, and just to let people know, it probably won't be able to be like a 10-1 underdog. Usually the free plays on our book max out about 4-1. So you will still be able to maximize your money if you do a future. If you do a money line dog, like, sorry, would have been nice for you to have Miami the other day, something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so something like that. But it's unfortunately it won't be like 12-1.
Yeah. Yeah. But it will still be something fun for the winner to fire. The only thing we didn't really consider, we should just probably have it on record here through the pod, tiebreaker. If we're down to two people and they both get strike three on the same day, uh, if you don't have anything in mind, or if you can't think of some, I was thinking we could take all the teams they picked and do whatever, whoever had the lower winning percentage cumulative of all those teams. And because in
Yeah.
theory you picked worse teams, I guess. Or you could look at the remaining teams and say, okay, whichever of your remaining teams, whichever has either a higher or lower win percentage.
Yeah.
What do you
Or
think?
you could say, okay, it's a wash. Now you guys still need to pick a new team, and that could just continue it like a sudden death, like whoever
Yeah,
whoever loses, something like
it's
that.
probably an easier way to do it instead of do a bunch of math. So okay, I like that. So if it's down to multiple people and no one survives the day, uh, that team has been used. You'll then pick again the next day a new team. I think that's good. Yeah. Yeah, that
Mhm.
sounds good. All right, there it is from Chris Duke. Officially, that's our official tiebreaker
Mhm.
in case we get down to it. So, I think that's pretty much it. Anything else with the competition, Dad?
No, yeah, just make sure if you have our numbers, you can text it. But if you don't, for all the East Coasters, the people that on Twitter, just make sure you send a DM and try to do it before this isn't like basketball or hockey where the games start a few minutes late. Baseball's on time, so try to not den us and do it 2 minutes before. Maybe 10-15 minute warning.
Hey, as long as we've got that's a DM is a good way, or even text for that matter. I mean, when we have the record
A
of the
timestamp.
timestamp, then
Mhm.
we're all good. So, all right. So MLB three strike survivor. What I'll do, I got a little spreadsheet I'm putting together. We'll pin that to the top of the Twitter feed, and people can kind of keep track of the competition. I'll gray out each day when someone has picked a team, so you'll be able to see who's got which teams remaining, and it'll be a good time. So, all right. Let's turn our attention to NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Final. We won't spend a ton of time on this, but Chris, remind us, what future are you hanging on to in the NBA?
It's about 7-1 on the Nuggets to win it all. So, unfortunately, I did it. I don't know if they're on a hot streak when I did it, or if after they went on a cold streak. But I checked right before playoffs, and I saw them 10-1 in our book, and I was like, "Holy shit! I could have got a better line if I was patient, and I should have sprinkled another 100 on it, try to win 1,700." But right now, I've just got 100 and something on to win 700. So Holton, it feels good with 7-1 as their $4 dogs or $4 favorites right now going into game one.
Yeah, fat fave. So when did you place that? Like
I
when were
think,
they set? Was it April? Was it
yeah, I think it was in March or April.
okay? Okay. So they're huge favorites. Do you hedge at all? I mean, what do you you just letting it ride? What do you? I
I
mean, with the
think
way the
so.
series is priced, can you do anything with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'll let it. I mean, obviously, I could if I wanted free money, I could just do the Heat and sit back and guarantee a profit. But I mean, with the amount I have, I'm really not worried about. I'd rather try to just let it ride and take the full winnings, especially because they're every time they play at home. But you say, oh, they're 8-point faves at home. And look what the Celtics did. They lost 3 games as 7, 8, 9-point favorites. So it's like, but we know Denver, that's a whole different animal going up into that altitude. So
Okay, is that the narrative for game one though? Miami is off a 7-game series that
has
they
to
had to
be,
fight
has to
tooth
be.
and nail. They're just simply going to be dead going into
Yeah,
the altitude in game one. Isn't that's got to be the narrative, right?
for sure. I'm not going to lay that. I'm just going to hope that they win game one, maybe that's a play. Maybe they lose game one, and then you can get the Heat closer to like plus 400. Maybe the time
Yeah,
to hedge, but I'm just gonna maybe sit back, be a Joker fan, and hope he gets his first ring, and I can make some cash while he does it.
because Chris, people have been underestimating the Heat the entire playoffs. I mean, they're priced the same way in this series. They're what 8.5 point dogs, same as they were against the Celtics. Isn't that roughly what they were against Milwaukee too in round one?
Yeah, every time, man. I mean, they've been an absolute. And that's the funny thing is they were the worst team I think in the league against the spread in the regular season, and now they've just now they're a cash cow. I mean, that's why you have to kind of be like we say it all the time: be malleable. Fade them when they're fade and ride a team when they're hot, and especially when there's dog and plus money. I mean, this team was on the verge of not even being in the playoffs, kind of like the Panthers, right? I mean, they lose to the Hawks, and they've got to beat the Bulls to get in and get the 8 seed, and crazy, man.
How about the total in the series? I'm seeing game one, 219.5.
Yeah, it's kind of high. I mean, what did the Celtics? I think that first one was what 215, 2 6. So it's a little higher. Makes sense. Denver's a little bit faster pace. I mean, we saw the games against the Lakers up in like the mid 220s, and then it started to come down as game 5, game 6, but or I mean game 4, I guess, because it was a sweep. So like slowly but surely that came down. But yeah, I mean the Heat. Obviously, we saw it what did the last 3 games or 4 games go under, Matt? I mean, that last game was 203. It went to what 187.
Oh my God. And we were laughing about it at the bar saying, is this
Yeah,
one of those games where you just under live
just
under the whole time? And
that's it.
they
Yeah,
did, what was it in the third quarter when it was clanking for 5 minutes straight. And then they had like 15 points in the last 2 minutes. So
yeah.
it got kind of roughly on at least more on pace. And then, with the blowout, it just kind of died at the end. But yeah, will be really interesting to see how the pace is, especially in the altitude with a team that's supposedly tired. So we'll see how game one plays out, and then if we can find anything for game two that dads can share with everybody. So anything else on the NBA? Should be fun. Denver's never been in the finals before.
Yeah, yeah. Heat lost in the game 7 to the Celtics last year. It's a good story. Jimmy Butler wanted to knock him back off. He got to do it. And Joker, we all figure he probably should have won his 3rd straight MVP. He's been absolutely the most dominant guy in the league the last few years. And he's been wanting it. And he had Murray, people tearing their ACL, and now they're all healthy. So the cool story. Carmelo could never do it. All those good Denver teams in the mid 2000s. So we'll
No
see.
way 8 seeds ever won the title, right?
I don't think so. I think the Knicks were an 8 seed against the Spurs at one time. They went down. So
With Van Gundy
yeah, with Latrell
and
Sprewell.
Sprewell. Yeah. Oh my God, 90s NBA. Wow. That's a whole nother show sometime. To just reminisce about the good old days. But so speaking of the good old days, not so much if you dislike the Vegas Golden Knights. I really don't know what to say. I mean, I'm gonna just have to get over it. I think that teams I dislike are going to win sometimes. And the one thing you have to give them credit is since they've came in the league, they've been aggressive as fuck. They obviously drafted a good team in the expansion. And then they've traded for guys, and then once their usefulness runs out, they will just almost, it's like Belichick like, they'll just cut them loose. I mean, so the Montreal Canadiens captain Max Pacioretty, they trade for him a couple years ago, and then they need to get under the cap last summer, and they just trade him for nothing to get under the cap. Fleury, the goalie that everyone loves, they trade him for nothing to get under the cap. So they've been ruthless and cold, and they've been really bold in trying to go acquire all-stars from other teams. And fuck, man, they're in the finals for the second time in the whole 6 years they've existed. And I have to believe most of the league and most fan bases feel the same way I do. And it just is totally rooted in jealousy. And I'll admit that, but it fucking sucks that the team that I love and rooted for since I was like 11 years old has never won shit. And these fuckers, I mean, they're probably going to win, and I'm going to just have to deal with it.
I mean, they're pretty public side. I know even my dad, he likes playoff hockey. He says if you got to figure the Golden Knights probably win, right? I feel like that has to be the sentiment right now. But we, unlike basketball, Matthew, we have seen 8 seeds take down the cup in hockey. So I wouldn't count
You would know.
those Panthers out.
I mean, Panthers they've been crazy. They take down Boston, right? They're down, I think they were down 3-1 in that series against the Bruins. And then they take down Toronto. I remember our pod with Alex Smith. Give us a dog that could win in the second round. He goes, yeah, probably Florida, I guess. And not only do they win the second round, they sweep the Hurricanes. And they've been chilling for the last week and a half while the Knights let the Stars back into the series. So I don't know. Yeah. Florida's been a really good road team. Their goalie is absolutely on fire. So is Vegas's goalie. Bobrovsky's kind of a weird fuck, but he's playing out of his mind right now. And if Florida can get a split in the first 2 games, fuck, we might see some rats on the ice. And do you know the story with the rats? Do you know that?
No, I think Joe mentioned it before. Yeah, I saw it. That was funny. All those things get hooked.
So they had a rat. So they made a run to the final in '96, I think, when the Avalanche won their first one. They played Florida. It was a sweep, but they made a great run to the final. And one of their players, his name was Scott Mellenby, and they're in their locker room in their dumpy old arena, and there's a rat in the locker room, and he kills the fucking rat with his stick. And then he goes and scores 2 goals in the game. So they called it a rat trick. Kill a rat and score 2 goals. So that's where the rats came from. And those crazy fuckers in Florida throw their rats on the ice. But I mean,
the rat trick.
You said it, Chris. Great. We've seen in hockey low seeds that just they kind of just stumble through the regular season. And then, I mean, hockey's kind of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, you can get in and catch fire. And we've seen low seeds win it. Like, it's the President's Trophy, the best team in the league. They usually don't win in hockey. Too many random things can happen in the playoffs. Goalies get hot. You get bad luck hitting posts and stuff. So Florida could definitely do it. The series is priced based on how well Florida has played in the playoffs, because on paper, you have the best team from the Western Conference in the regular season against the last team that got into the playoffs, East or West.
Right.
Why is Vegas?
We have pretty much the same situation in basketball, right? 1 seed versus 8, and look at the price. Why is hockey so much different? It's wild.
Yep. It's a good question. So we'll see. I'm hoping the Panthers split, so it gets a little bit interesting. And Vegas has been a really good road team too. So both teams could split 1-1, the 2 games in Vegas and Florida, and that would end up being a really fun series with a ton on the line in Game 5. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on the totals too. Florida has, I think somebody tweeted this, that they were one of the worst defensive teams in the regular season allowing goals, and then they have tightened up like crazy and been really hard to score on. So what are these? Is it 6? Any idea?
Probably 6 with
God, I can't believe they don't start till Saturday. Oh wow, it's 5.5. Okay.
Wow.
So we'll see. These could be an under series with Vegas blocks a ton of shots. It's hard to score on them. If Florida's goalie stays hot, you could have a lot of 2-1, 3-1 games. But exciting time. I mean, for both championship rounds to be going at the same time, and then it's on to baseball. So anything else today, Dad?
No, man, I'm just interested to see the way the hockey plays out. Like you said, I mean, it's so cool. I mean, just in the last few years, watching Follow the Money and all these gambling shows you and I do, and all of us have hit huge tickets, on UConn. It's just great to see. I mean, we saw it with the Blues a few years ago when they were down and out. They shouldn't have made it. And now everyone's saying they got 40, 60 to 1 tickets on Florida. Everyone was showing their 45 to 1 tickets on the Heat. It's just beautiful to see that, it's worth it sometimes in these professional sports where anything can happen, to just take a little flyer on these ones. And it's cool to see people cash in these big tickets, even though some of them might only be for $20 to win 500-600. That's huge for people that are betting that small to cash big tickets,
Totally agree. You love to see it, regardless of sport. I mean, got a couple years ago before the Bucks got Brady, right? People were firing Bucks just in case he went there and they win the Super Bowl. And good shit. We love it. All right.
Yeah.
We'll be back. Hopefully, we'll do another show with the dads next week. We'll kind of recap the beginning of the June Survivor competition. Everybody, make sure you're following Fade You at Fade You Sports on Twitter to keep up with the competition. It'll be a good time. And Chris, remind everybody what happens sometimes when you bet on poop.
Sometimes you might get a moneyline dog in a Game 7. Good job, Heat. Did not want to be the only one to ever blow that 0-3.